Maybe you run a hedge fund, maybe you run a family office, maybe you're a portfolio manager inside a larger institution, or you might just be a wealth management guy or girl, or some type of financial advisor, maybe an insurance professional. But I don't care if you're not a financial professional. This is relevant to you if you're a goddamn plumber or an electrician. This is relevant to you if you run a car wash. This is relevant to you if you're a medical professional. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I'm an executive coach that helps financial professionals get wealthy outside of the office in their mind, their body, and their relationships. I'm an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat inside of corporate America in a seat just like you do for 20 years. I know what it takes. Welcome back to the show. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. This is the Success Lift podcast, and I am so grateful that you're taking some of your very, very precious and busy time out of your day to spend it with me. As I've started to mention more frequently in the intro, I specialize in working with financial professionals. It's not every single person that I work with, but it's the majority of the people that I work with. It's the majority of the individual one-on-one clients that I have, and it's usually the majority of the executive teams that I work with. Now, my last two teams that I've worked with, my last three teams actually that I've worked with, have been non-financial services firms. But historically, that's my bread and butter. My one-on-one clients, I would say it's about 70-ish% financial professionals to non-financial professionals. But again, historically, I've tended to have finance pros gravitate towards me. Why, do you ask, in case you're new here? Well, I spent 20 years on Wall Street. I was predominantly a high yield bond trader. I started my career at Merrill Lynch in their wealth management training program as a financial advisor. And so I understand the business. I understand both aspects of the business, the retail side, the institutional side. I speak in the lingo, holy moly, the lingo of the financial professional. I understand what you're going through on a daily basis, no more than right now. And while this, you never know, because you record these episodes in the past, if you're well-structured, well thought out, and have a plan, which is one of the foundational pillars of my coaching and your work with me as an individual. I love this quote. I just wrote it on my whiteboard to the left here. I'm actually going to do a podcast on this at some point. Systems are reliable, people are not. Isn't that a New Jersey, New York thing to say? Which is where I'm from as well, if you are just finding this podcast for the first couple of episodes. If this is your first one, welcome. If this is your 250th plus, welcome back to my OGs. Why I give that brief intro, number one, is because I'm going to start speaking specifically more to the high-performing financial professional, helping you get wealthy, in air quotes, outside of the office, because I already know that you're doing pretty well inside of the office. And I know that a lot of your success has come at a cost. That cost likely looks a lot like the cost that I paid inside of my professional career that bled into my personal life, that almost had me get divorced, that had me 30 pounds overweight, that had my body in daily pain, joint pain, aches and pains, pulled muscles. I'm getting old. This is the cost of doing business for me. I'm an ex-athlete. All of these bullshit stories that I told myself. Maybe you're drinking too much like I did. Maybe you gamble frequently like I did. Maybe you use recreational drugs like I used to 4, 5, 6 days a week, but still show up to do your day job and still do it, you think, at a really high level. But if you start to take control of your life outside of the office, start to get your marriage or your committed relationship back to where it was when it first started, out of the bullshit story of that was the honeymoon phase, and this is like the life that we live for the rest of our lives, grinding it out with kids, being roommates, not having enough connected one-on-one time with each other, thinking that your glory days of being an athlete or your glory days of being fit were only reserved for your 20s. That, again, I'm going to keep saying this word, is bullshit. because I'm experiencing all of these things in my life. And oh, by the way, I experienced them sitting in your seat. So I didn't just decide to pull a Jerry Maguire, grab my goldfish, leave the trading desk, and go start a new career, which is what I'm doing now, working with people like you. I actually did it sitting in your seat. And that's one thing that I forgot about from a marketing perspective when I first started speaking into cameras and doing all this weird stuff, posting podcast episodes, writing a daily email. By the way, if you're not getting my daily email, it is thesuccesslift.com/join. Check it out. It'll take you 5 seconds to join. It'll take you 2 minutes max on a daily basis to read. It'll be in your inbox every day at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it should help you go about your day at a higher level, maybe give you a little bit of motivation, maybe a little inspiration, maybe some education, hopefully some education, maybe a little bit of humor. I don't know. Depends on whether or not you're from the East Coast, New Jersey, you're an athlete, you played sports, you like locker room type humor. All that should be found in my daily email list. If you're not an email person, cool. Tell somebody about it. If you're a social media person, come check me out. I'm Brian Pannuzzo, Pannuzzo, on LinkedIn and on Instagram. If you are a busy professional, you're probably on LinkedIn. Forget about the Instagram stuff. I just kind of show my daily life on there. What I really want you to do is connect with me on LinkedIn because my content, I feel, is really impactful. I've been told that. Don't just feel it. It's not just the feeling, it's the data. All right. Numbers don't lie. People do. It's another New York City quote. Numbers don't lie. People do, though. All right. I've been told it's impactful. And that's where I'm really starting to pick up my attention and quantity and quality of content, as well as right here. And if you just want to stick here with me, stick here with me. Why I give you all of that contextual background is because, as you know, we've had some volatile markets over the last week or so. Those will likely continue. And where we'll be when you're listening to this right now, I have no freaking idea. But at the time of this recording, we've had some really volatile down days specifically in the markets. And while I would have loved to shotgun this episode and released it last week, I already had my spring break episode in the hopper. It was also contextual because you may be on spring break literally this week. I know a lot of New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, where a lot of my clients are, a lot of the financial firms that I work with are on break this week. So if you have a little extra time, check out the podcast. You're already here, so why am I even telling you? All right. So that was contextual. But what I want to talk about today is literally why you have a job. All right. Now, this will be predominantly in financial services terms, specifically to the portfolio manager / financial advisor, money manager. All right. Maybe you run a hedge fund. Maybe you run a family office. Maybe you're a portfolio manager inside a larger institution, or you might just be a wealth management guy or girl or some type of financial advisor, maybe an insurance professional. You are managing assets on behalf of other people. That sits up at the top of this explanation and series of. But I don't care if you're not a financial professional. This is relevant to you if you're a goddamn plumber or an electrician. This is relevant to you if you run a car wash. This is relevant to you if you're a medical professional. I have a ton of doctors and medical professionals inside of my program as well. And so all of these analogies that I'll give you is very relevant to you. And what I've been telling all of my clients over the last several weeks leading up to this as well, and what I tell them anytime things get hard in their professional career is, number one, good. Good. Now what? What are you going to do about it now? Because you can't change what's going on. You can't change what's happening with our politics. You can't change what's going on in the market. The market is way bigger than that, way bigger than one individual, one firm even, right? You can't change what's happening around us. All you can change is your response to the event. I tell my clients all the time, I love the equation E plus R equals O. Events in our lives plus our response to it ultimately drives an outcome. And the mistake that so many of us make is that the only thing we are in control of, if you're on YouTube right now, I am holding up my bicep with a clenched fist. The only thing you can control in that equation is the R, your response. The outcome can only be influenced by us. We think we are in control of the outcome. You're not. You can only influence the outcome. I can't control what the scale says, my weight on the scale, but I can control the steps that I take on a daily basis, the calories that I consume, the sleep that I get, the alcohol that I consume, the weights that I lift, the basketball that I play. All of these inputs ultimately will influence the outcome of maybe seeing a particular goal weight on the scale. Follow me? Should be pretty self-explanatory, okay? Here's the key though. It's the events that typically dictate our response. And that's the mistake that so many of us make. Because most of the time, at least the ones that really cause us the stress, the anxiety, the frustration, to do some of the things that we regret after the fact. Eat like shit, drink too much, stay up too late, hit the snooze button, don't work out, all of that, do drugs, do whatever. All of those things, those R's, those individual R's, one by one, response, all of those things are within our control. When you chunk down, or I guess the other way, when you chunk up enough, they're all within our control. Yes, maybe you can't get as many steps in because you've been working 14, 15, 16-hour days. You've been doing a lot of triage with clients. You're stuck to your desk a little bit more. Cool. By the way, I have a solution for that. Just ask. You can email me at brian@thesuccesslift.com if you want a quick 5-minute workout at your desk. I'll send you one. All right. You don't have to leave your desk. All right. The response is what we can control. What people do is they allow the event, which oftentimes they are not in control of. You did not decide to levy huge tariffs on every country in the world. You do not tweet like the president. You did not spend recklessly like our last administration. You did not do this. You did not do that. It doesn't matter what your politics are. You didn't do any of it. But here we all are cleaning up the proverbial garbage and the fires that get ignited and dropped on our desk. And I know that you know that the last 5 or 6 problems that you've had at your office are probably very low correlated directly. Now, everything's your fault and everything is your solution to figure out, right? In personal development 101, as I would tell my clients. But a lot of times it's not your fault. A lot of times you didn't do it. You just got to clean this shit up, right? And so we're not in control of a lot of the events that affect us emotionally. But then we allow those events to dictate our response. And that response oftentimes has absolutely nothing to do with the outcome that we truly desire. And that is this massive disconnect that most people in their lives spend decades. And when I say most people, I am raising my hand because I used to do it 20 times a week. I'm getting a little bit better at it. I'm only doing it a few times a week now. All right. So I coach this stuff a whole lot better than I implement myself. And that's why I have coaches. And that's why this is an incredible time for you to have coaching in your life. More on that maybe next week. But what I want to talk about today is literally why you get paid. As a financial professional, I know that index funds and passively managed accounts are a very large percentage of the market. But I also know that there are trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in actively managed funds. Now, for my non-financial professionals, a very quick primer. Actively managed, somebody is getting paid to make decisions day to day. Do this, buy that, sell this, reallocate that, move this, right? Passive, non-actively managed. Think of an S&P 500 index fund. There's a basket of stocks. You buy the fund. You buy a basket. They don't change. They don't get actively moved around on a day-to-day basis, except maybe 4 times a year when there is quarterly rebalancing of a particular index. We won't even go there, all right? You're not paying someone millions of dollars in a team, millions of dollars to actively manage the account, which means your expenses for that fund are much lower. Data will show historically that passively managed funds tend to, over time, outperform actively managed funds due to the costs associated. When you remove the cost of investing, you tend to outperform. And so logic would state, why wouldn't you just put your money where you get better returns, where the costs are lower? If it's typically just time in the market, not timing the market, why wouldn't you have your money in passive, non-actively managed funds? Well, I know every person who works in financial services right now has probably been cursing at me under their breath or shaking their head going, what are you talking about, dude? That is not the best strategy. Understanding that there are reasons why you would want your money in actively managed funds. And so let's review a couple of those right off the cuff. I didn't even think about these. Let's see if I can think of a few. All right. Number one, actively managed funds allow for further customization for somebody who might have a very high net worth. And even if you don't, you might want access to some different strategies that a passively managed fund can't do. Okay. And an ETF fund is not going to sit down with you face to face and go over your goals. An ETF fund is not going to know the names of your kids. An ETF fund is not going to know what you want to do with your money when you die. Okay? They're not going to take into account you as an individual. They're not human beings. So having a human relationship provides a ton of value. Okay? They don't actively participate in conversation with you. They don't know that you just had a life event and you may need some extra care and attention. They can't call you when the death happens with someone in your family and help you work through some of the tax implications and the financial implications of it. All right. They can't tell you that the market has run up massively over the last several years. And like some of my financial professionals have been doing, maybe having their clients allocate to more cash, maybe more fixed income, maybe some more alternative investments, getting their exposure away from exactly the names that have gotten torched in the last several weeks. And to be fair, this entire year. The index fund is the index fund. You just put your money in and it's going to go up or down. So it has its benefits, but you don't have any human connection. Another huge factor is that typically when things are really bad, we want to run away. When things are really good, we want to chase. And as a very strong financial professional, you know that is usually the opposite of what we want to do. We want to buy more things when there's blood in the streets. We want to sell more things when there's euphoria. And that is contradictory to human behavior. So what tends to happen is that we add more money to our passively managed funds where we don't have an advisor counseling us the entire way, holding us accountable, more on accountability in a moment. And we keep adding, and then when things go really bad, we freak the F out and we sell everything. And there are all sorts of statistical data to show that if you just miss maybe the top 5 or 6 trading days of every single calendar year, your returns dramatically drop over time. I'm talking like wild stats. I didn't look these up before I started. Please just go do a random Google search about that topic or a ChatGPT search. You'll find that if you're not in the market for the top 10 trading days or so of the year, your performance is wildly lower. Okay. And so a great financial professional is going to counsel you and likely keep you in the market if it's the right thing for you to do. They're going to remind you of your goals. Now, I'm going to now take a side path here and talk about other professions, specifically coaching in general, and maybe what I do to help people like you. They're going to remind you that these are the goals that you have. And just because there's some volatility and turbulence in your life doesn't mean that you need to abandon the process. In fact, this is probably when you should double down on the process. More on that in another week or so. Okay? So a good professional is going to have some empathy, is going to talk to you, is going to understand how you feel, then is going to present you with a set of solutions that should make sense for you. that professional is going to make sure that you are accountable to the goals that you said you have. And if you want to retire in 15 years or 20 years, he or she's going to remind you that you probably can withstand a reasonable drawdown this year. Now, if you're retiring in 3 or 4 years, you probably shouldn't have that much exposure anyway. So they're going to remind you of your goals. I'm going to remind you that you told me you wanted to be a certain body fat percentage, have a certain connection in your marriage. And when you had a fight with your wife last night or you're with your husband, I'm going to remind you that ignoring them for the next 5 days is not going to get you closer to your goals. So maybe we should look at the root cause of this and not just say he or she is a jerk. He doesn't understand me. He does this all the time. She's crazy. She does this all the time. I can't get to the gym because of this. I didn't eat healthy because of this. I drank too much because of this. I'm here to remind you that you set a particular destination in the GPS. And if you keep ignoring the directions, you're never going to get there. You're spinning around in a neighborhood that has nothing to do with you getting down the road towards your journey, towards your destination. Well, what the heck are we doing here? Pit stops are normal. Rest stops are normal. Getting slightly lost along the way can happen. But the GPS keeps rerouting us back to the course that we want to be on. That's what an outstanding financial professional will do for you during this time. Well, this is exactly why you get paid. If a landscaper showed up to my house and I was cutting my grass with a pair of scissors, the landscaper would reroute me. He'd be like, dude, if you don't want to pay me, at least go get the goddamn lawnmower. Right? Like there's advice that professionals give. There is knowledge and expertise that professionals have. They can troubleshoot things. If I have an issue with something in my house, I am typically calling a professional, at least after I quickly look at how complex it might be to fix myself. Do I want to spend the time to do this? More importantly, do I want to incur the costs? Right? We always are looking at what do things cost? What is it worth, though? What is it worth for me to not have something wrong in my house for a week while I figure out time to get to it? All my husbands out there love our wives, but man, is there a never-ending to-do list. What if we just farm some of that stuff out? I'm not saying that you shouldn't be a great partner and provide, obviously, financially for your family or for part of your family if your significant other does the other part. But at the end of the day, we are spending our time on a lot of things that are not our hourly rate. And I mentioned Dan Martell over the last episode or two. He's really got me thinking of like, where am I just absolutely wasting my hourly rate? Like folding laundry, doing dishes. I'm not suggesting that every guy out there right now stops doing laundry or folding laundry or doing dishes in their house because they heard me on a podcast say it. You better make sure other people are there doing it. But is it what you get paid to do? No, it's not. If it's not, and you can outsource it, you should think about that. So again, this concept of keeping you on track. Where are you supposed to be right now? What are you supposed to be doing? If you had somebody like famous people have handlers, I guess, when they go places, and it's like you see someone, they're just pushing somebody to the next appointment, pushing somebody to the next event. What if you had a handler throughout your day, pointing you in the right direction, virtually, who can look in to see what you're doing via the Success Lift app, knowing what you're putting in your body, knowing how many steps you're taking per day, knowing if you drink tonight, connecting with you on a frequent basis. You know how many of my clients I've been texting on a daily basis over the last 2 weeks? It's been a lot. You know, I'm not suffering the stress and anxiety and frustration of getting my you-know-what kicked in on a daily basis with my P&L, we call it, my profit and loss, my trading book. I'm not seeing my clients' assets go down. My assets under management consistently decline every day because the market goes down. But I'm feeling a lot of the stress that, you know, my clients do because We're doing a lot of triage stuff. There's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, quick text messages back and forth, voice recordings, video messages I'm sending them, quick phone calls, leaving voicemails, sending messages inside our app that I use. And so I feel it too. But to be able to have that connection with someone, with a human being, if you were doing your online fitness and nutrition program that you got off of YouTube, good luck getting an answer from YouTube about what to do when you're stressed and you're not sure what the next move is, or you just need to communicate and check in with someone. And so that's the value of coaching. That's the value of having an expert in your life. That's the value of having a chief operating officer, a COO, a guy or a girl riding shotgun in your car. They're going to tell you you're off track. They're going to tell you to slow down. They're going to tell you to speed up. You're not moving fast enough. And so I just want to remind you, number one, this is why you get paid. This is why I get paid. Health, fitness, nutrition, workout, marriage, habits, scheduling, all of that information, all of that advice, lean in. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Lean in. It's all available for free on the internet. But the question becomes, why doesn't everyone take advantage of it and implement it? Well, for a lot of reasons, but predominantly because the X's and O's are very simple. They're very simple. They're just not easy. And they're not easy because there are things that happen in our lives that constantly come in and flip us upside down and shake us. And when that's happening, you need to have a plan. You need to have a trusted advisor that you can count on. You need to have a process. You need to have structure. You need to know what your next move is. Sometimes you need to just simplify things and work on one thing. And don't work on anything else until that one thing is done. And then move on to the next. And sometimes you have to lock arms like the buffalo do in the storm. A buffalo don't even have arms. They just get together. They get together and they walk into the storm together. They don't run away from it because they know that they can't outrun it. And the more they go this way, with the storm coming this way, the longer they'll be in it. But if they come together as one with a trusted advisor and they say, you know what, we're going to walk into this storm and we're going to do our best. And we're probably going to slow down because we're going to be into the wind and the elements are going to be hitting us in the face, but we're not going to stop. And if you don't stop and you know where you're going, I promise you, you're going to get there. And so just remember, right now is why you make a great living. Right now is why people have signed up to work with you, because you are the answer to their problems. And if I can be the answer to your problems, you know how to find me. Email me at brian@thesuccesslift.com. Text me if you have my cell phone number, DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I would love to connect with you soon. If this message helped you, send it to another financial professional. Have a great week.